It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
And I'll move to approve the minutes.
I'll second that.
Roger, who is the first and the second on that, or the first?
David,
David.
make the motion, Jan seconded.
No, on that one, Sarah did.
Yeah,
On the
Sarah
next one,
seconded.
yes.
Oh.
She asked for the first one.
You were slow, Jan.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right. Election of officers.
That's where you jumped in. I'll move,
Any nominations?
I'm going to nominate you for chairman again.
I'll second.
I think it's kind of important that we stay till we see what our new county commissioners want to do.
Anybody else? No, it's been moved and seconded to leave the new chairman. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, changing the days that we meet.
Oh, you didn't get a vice president? You better do that.
Well, that's right, we gotta get the vice president. Any nominations for vice president, or vice chairman?
I would take it again. I didn't get to ever chair a meeting.
I nominate Jan.
Thank you, Sarah.
I'll second it.
Thanks,
You're
Dave.
moved and seconded for Jan to take on vice chairman. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay,
Now you're ready.
now we're ready to go into changing the days. And the reason I wanted to change days is exactly why tonight I'm missing my granddaughter's ball games. And Tricia's gonna have the same problem here in another year or so. You know. Russ, you said Wednesday's about the only day you could do too,
The last
the
one.
last Wednesday of the month.
Yeah, I'll make it work.
That worked for me. I knew that because I did talk to Tricia, they said that, and I said, oops, first three I can't. Then I got thinking, whoa, I've got fourth one free. Ah, amazing, note down. That'll be fine with me.
Well, I know Jan's got a problem with it.
Oh, you got a problem with that?
Well, I teach Sunday school class every Wednesday night.
That's why we used to avoid Wednesdays,
So-
those church nights.
Yeah.
That's like our school board did that for years, and now they've changed. They went back. They're on Wednesdays now. I'm surprised that they did.
Yeah. So, what it would be is getting a substitute once a month if we have a meeting every month. So I can work with that.
Okay.
I mean, that's
I'll move
really,
to do that then.
it's the only choice we've got.
Wednesday's fine with me. I don't have anything nailed down.
I'll move to the fourth Wednesday. Better get a second
There's
too.
been a motion to change it to last Wednesday of the month. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to change the meeting time to the last Wednesday of the month. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And another thing, while we're in this mode, is everybody all right with the time as far as 7 o'clock? Or would somebody want it to be earlier, or?
We'll see.
Doesn't matter to me.
I'm
I live
flexible.
close.
Yeah, I'm flexible with the time. I don't
I
care.
mean, you know.
I kinda like it where it is, just
Somebody
for
wants to
simple
change,
reason.
you know, make it earlier.
I have a chance, I've got 20-some minute drive here.
That's gonna be long.
so I've gotta have my meal
How's that for you, though,
by 6
Russ?
o'clock or else I'm in trouble.
I would appreciate keeping it the same, unless this
Okay.
whole, unless we're trying just to manage me out.
No, no,
Which is
no,
perfectly
no, no,
fine,
no, no.
understandable.
No.
I respect that.
That's not going that
We're leaving things alone.
We just tell
far.
you.
Okay, we'll leave the time alone.
7 o'clock helps.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to find out if you have any public comment.
Is there any public comment?
Okay, let me sure to support that.
All right, new business, CUPZ 2406.
So that's the Drake.
The Drakes, are they not here? Oh, but, okay.
We're waiting for you to rise up, that's what we're waiting.
And tell us what you're doing.
We're pretty easy back here, by the way.
I believe I'm here asking to get a address.
Yeah. Go ahead.
We can't do that, this is here.
Trish does that,
No, the sheriff's department.
Yeah, it's a sheriff's department, but she's wants to stay at their pond in the winter months, and they won't give her an address because it's not a residential structure.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That
Oh,
makes sense,
It'll cause a little commotion, won't it? Yes, it will. Even the
So
post
now
office.
I still have to pick it up at the center.
I don't know what to tell you on that one, because the sheriff's department won't. And that's not that we have anything, we're recommending board, that's it.
Yeah, and I didn't know that. I just came in and paid the $500 and,
Well, you asked about staying in it, and I told you that we don't allow living in a camper, and that you had to have a conditional use permit to
but I got that first, and she came out and
No,
looked
this is
around.
the whole conditional use permit.
Oh, this is for that?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, I thought it was for the address.
No.
No.
This'll help you
No.
get that.
Yeah,
Yes.
this,
Okay.
you gotta go through this to get to that.
I didn't know that.
The sheriff's department dispatches all the fire calls, and they have to have a physical address, and they only say if you have a residence there, they will. I bet.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
That whole thing was a little confusing.
Well, it's also been a few months, because she was supposed to be here November when you were sick.
Yeah, I had COVID really bad.
Mhm.
But I don't see any problem with the permit.
Okay.
I think on that, I don't think we'll have any problem with it. I'm just speaking for me, not the board.
So I did talk to Rural Water 7,
Okay?
and their bylaws say no to 2 residential structures on a meter,
No.
but they are okay with it if the RV is only part-time, is what they told me.
Okay.
We talked to them and it would be like 10,500 because you'd have to go under the road.
Yep.
And
Where's that?
so, we had Conklin give us a bid for a water cistern that we go pick up water in the city and go up and haul it out there.
You'll love that. You'll wish you paid $10,000.
Maybe.
I had a guy this year on our district pay $30,000, but he put water in. He said,
That's what a guy told me that hauls water for cattle. He said that gets real old real fast.
well, where it gets cold is when your really your problem comes. You're not talking about that, so it shouldn't be as bad.
The electricity and the meters are already there.
Yes, I paid, Four Rivers Electric to come out and do all that. And it will just be coming out of the ground like a camper hookup.
Yeah.
But we have 42-foot park model. So there's no holding tanks, there's no black water, there's no nothing. Everything will be directly connected and legitimate, so,
So you stay at number like
Sinking 56.
in the summer,
yes,
and so this would just be winter use?
yes, when we realized what it was like to stay in an RV park.
Are you building kind of a shelter or decking or anything like that?
Not at this
Cover or
point.
something?
We have a few buildings out there. I have a little cabin building that doesn't have anything in it, but we were foster parents, and our kids would come, our boys would come from the city, so we would go out and teach them to fish and ride four-wheelers, and I'm kind of an old thick woman and didn't want to sleep on the ground in a tent, so we may sell that and have it taken off, and then we have another little black structure that I want to do like a community building in for, because I have 6 kids now and 9 grandkids and a lot of boys. And so we want to put tables in it to play cards and games and eat when we don't want to nail our plates down
Now,
on the
this would just be
table.
family, or,
Yeah, just family.
okay, well, then you won't need a permit for that, but if you was talking about the community was coming in, you got a
No,
problem.
just for everybody
Okay,
to gather
gotcha,
in, that we
gotcha.
can hang out. I mean, it's just, it's a very special place for us.
Right, right.
We have 30 years of pets buried out there, and I have a potting shed out there for all my gardening, because I do a garden every year. And what else do we have out there? My son lives on Forest Gregg. He parks his camper out there so that it's not a big sore thumb there. But it's just a little,
Well, Tricia, you got a report on this at all?
I haven't heard any complaints or anybody saying that they didn't want any, nobody responded to the
It
mailing.
meets all our criteria if she does what she says she's gonna do.
Yep.
I'll move, we accept her deal.
I got one quick question. So the last time I met you, we talked about hooking into the pump station, hooking into their lagoons, and what
Yes.
did you?
that's what Conklin agreed to. And then Garrett Fager came out, and he said, because the guys that live in the house want to buy it on a rent-to-own contract, so we're looking at like 20 years out. But Garrett said that he would come out and dig us our own little lagoon
Correct.
when that ever arose, so that we could, he said it would take absolutely nothing. He already came out and looked at it all.
Okay. I haven't talked to you since that day I was
Yeah.
out there. That's been 5 months ago, so.
Yeah, it's been a while.
What you ended up doing, so.
So they're gonna use the same lagoon for a while?
Yeah, I mean, we talked to it. I said legally you can't have 2 separate, using the same lagoon. So, and the lagoon needs a little bit of work to it, but.
Conklin said, did Conklin call you? Did Sean call you? He said he was gonna call you and talk to
I haven't
you.
talked to him.
Okay.
That's
I'll
why I
talk
was
to
curious. I was
Sean.
curious, I'm like,
I'll talk to Sean.
You put a bug in his ear.
Yes, I will.
Have you got anything?
I'm just wanting to see if there's any restrictions on the CUP. Do we have any restrictions?
You can put restrictions on there for like time frames, so they can't be out there year round. They could, if she's stating that she wants to use it in
Well,
the
she says she's
wintertime.
not going to, so that's the way I presume this is, you wrote it,
Well,
you're gonna be
we'd
there
have
part of the
to,
year.
we'd have to,
So that's the
Put
way
it
this
on the
permit,
condition.
what I'm
Yeah,
saying,
because
I'll
you
move.
can get year-round permit at Eisenhower.
Yeah,
They turn your water off.
I see,
So basically, you're out there with electric and sewer.
right.
So we didn't realize that we couldn't stay out there. So from the time they shut off the water to the time they turn the water back on, you really don't have any options.
Right.
I would like to, I guess, put in wording in the CUP that acknowledging that this is a part-time,
Something to the effect of not considered a permanent residence.
exactly.
Right.
And then like all CUPs, whether stated or not, but we can certainly state it in the resolution, is that shall obtain all necessary local, state, and federal permits. That's usually a
Yeah.
standard
Yeah.
item, so that
Yeah.
takes care of Keena's interest as well.
And it is subject to review.
I thought I got all my permits. Is there more I need to get?
That's just a catch-all for us.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just, it's just,
You obviously don't
I
need
really
state or
tried
federal
to do
permits.
this
yeah.
the right way, but
What?
it's overwhelming.
Well, you did better. You did at least show up here.
Sarah, Jason, you got anything?
Don't think so.
Tricia, once an ECUP is issued, do you go over with the people who, these folks, would you go over with them that, you know, at any time we see that you're not abiding by what the CUP is, that we can revoke that and hold it? Do you talk to them about it?
Some I do.
But like I say, if it's subject to your review, that's automatically covers us. But, yeah, you're right, maybe she should know that, but
Yeah.
you have been told.
I think it's good
Right.
information to know, you know, that if something changes in how you're using the property, or if it becomes full-time, then you have to come see us again. And if, you know, we go around the county, and there's people from the county out paying attention to different things, and if we see that there's becoming problems out there, then,
Right.
you know.
Yeah, our plan isn't to make problems.
Well, I didn't think so, but some people don't understand that, and they think it's just forever, you know.
No.
You will be
Or do
surprised
it
how
now
many
for the
we.
best.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
Ask for
understand.
forgiveness.
And I understand why this is what it is.
Okay,
Okay.
Dave's got a motion.
Dave, you got a motion?
With the amendments.
What's the amendment?
Well, what Jan said there, she wants a restriction on
What
it.
he,
And what
okay,
conditions.
stop it, yes.
We're trusting Trish to get that all down.
Trish has been
Will I
typing,
be
so.
able to get an address or no?
I'll give it to
That's-
Sheriff.
You-
After, so I will have to wait and take it won't be this Monday, but it'll be the following Monday. I take it to the, Board of Commissioners for them to approve it. So they basically give the recommendation to the board to approve or to deny. So then the board is the one that approves it. And if they approve it, that's when I contact you to tell you that you've been approved. And then we would send it off to the sheriff's department to say, yes, they've been approved.
The county commission approves it,
Mhm.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's on the 10th.
When are
Monday
they
the 10th.
changing their days?
Oh, yes, they are changing their days. It's Tuesday, the 11th. And that actually helps me moving down the line because there's that off day.
Mhm.
Mhm.
They might put a restriction on your drive, how wide is your driveway?
Is there a second?
Well,
Just
I'm just
bigger
saying,
than this?
it should be 30 feet wide if you ever turn the fire truck to get in.
Oh, okay.
Listen, now this is me talking as chairman of my board of, fire board there. We've made it mandatory that 30 feet is the minimum. So we know we can get in.
I'll
One
let
fire
my husband
protection,
know
you
that.
better, I don't know what that township has. This is my township and my,
Uh-huh.
3 townships, because I got Burlingame, Dragoon, and Burlingame
If
Township.
they're pulling a 42-foot camper in, it's probably
Yeah,
fairly
it's
wide.
gotta have to have, that road's not wide enough to get over, it's not that wide of a road. But there's not much of a ditch there, I don't think, either.
Yeah. But you need to talk to your township board if
Yes.
they want you to put in a driveway.
Okay.
Yeah. You know what township that's in?
Grant,
Yeah, it is.
Scranton, okay. That'll be Willie O'Reilly and
No.
Old House that I know.
Grant.
Oh,
Grant.
Different story, yeah, Grant.
I'll second Dave's motion.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the CUP with the stipulations All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
You're now done.
Thank you.
And one's got
Okay.
time for you.
Yeah, one step, now you're on the road.
CPZ 2407. JT, come up and
Let the record show that I'm from Argonia, and I
can't talk.
hauled water for 17 years at my house. I didn't even talk to her and tell her, pay $10,000. It's horrible. Anyway, I'm JT Crawford. Thanks for letting me talk here. 3 years ago, my wife and I, Amy, we bought a historical property. A lot of you guys know where it's at. It was known for years as the Kaufman Place. We bought it from Welch Kaufman. It's right on the Lyon County, Osage County line. I mean, it's right there.
I see that. You're on Osage.
We're in Osage, yeah, barely. I didn't know much about it. I taught in Reading for 17 years, and I didn't know much about the property. I knew it was just a beautiful, beautiful piece of property that everybody wanted, but somebody from out of state owned it. So, long story short, they ended up, this woman who owned it, she got Alzheimer's, and her kids needed to move her, and they wanted to sell it. So a friend of mine was the realtor. He contacted me, said, "What do you know about this place?" I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this place is for sale." So it ended up that we bought it, and then I started doing some research on it and found out that it is one of the most important ranches in the state of Kansas. Why don't people know this? It's because there's only been 2 families that have owned this place. It was built by Colonel Severy out of Michigan he built it in 1880, and it was the largest ranch in our state for a while.
Wow.
He brought the first Texas Longhorns to Kansas. He was partners with Cyrus K. Holliday that built the Santa Fe Trail Railroad. He built the First National Bank in Osage City, First National Bank in Emporia. He owned the Carbon Coal Company. He owned 2 racetracks in Emporia. He owned the Emporia Streetcar Company. He built the first bridge. His name was Severy, Colonel Severy. He was a director for the ATSF. He brought the railroad to Eureka and then to a town called Gould, and then they named the town after him, Severy. He brought the railroad to Alma. He was a big deal. When he died in 1901, the Boston Globe, the New York Times, they all carried his death, the obituary. But today, nobody knows about it. It's kind of interesting. In 1901, he died, and the Reeds bought it, R-E-E-D. And Mrs. Kaufman was a Reed. So I bought it from the Reed family. So I'm really the only 3rd owner of this place. So we got doing some research on it, and it was just unbelievable. It's like a time capsule that hasn't been touched since 1880. It's been abandoned for 23 years, and people had gone through it and stole stuff. When a distant relative found out that I bought it, he came back and he said, "I took most of the stuff, so I'm going to give it back to you." So he started presenting me like chandeliers and all the stuff from the house and the barn. He brought back the brass scale house to redo. So, I mean, as you can see, my passion is history. I've been teaching history for 31 years, and my wife and I's goal was to restore this place. We're both teachers, so that it makes it pretty tough for us to do. So I contacted the state, and the state said, when the colonel hired 35 free black people after the Civil War, and they built 13 miles of rock walls that surround this property. We have 12 acres. The rest has been dispersed throughout the years, but we have the original hub, of the untouched hub of the farm, and it still has all the rock walls and the pins and the alleys. It still has the barn. Many of you have seen it. It's a backdrop for many senior pictures people take. It sits by the road, and it was his racehorse barn, because he owned 2 racetracks. We got put on the state national the state
Historical.
registry of historical places, and then they kind of fast-tracked it through the federal. So it's on the state and the federal. We were contacted by Kansas Agritourism, and when they came, we've been given tours, and I have groups come out, like women's groups and civic groups, I give tours of it. It ended up that the Kansas Agritourism got a hold of me, and they said, we want you to fill out an application. You gotta get this on. So I did, and that was 3 weeks ago, and I just here last week got a certificate that says you are now part of the Kansas Agritourism circuit, and we're gonna start marketing this, not for money, but just letting everybody know so we can start doing tours. I got your permit deal, and it was zoned R1, and I asked about, should it be ag? The house is abandoned. It's actually like we do tours of the house too. It's like a plantation style, and the servant quarters are still out there too that we're going to restore. So I checked with the state, and an attorney for the state said, it's interesting you say this because they just passed a house deal on this over agritourism on zoning. So I talked to you about the number of these, so I made something for you folks. The cool thing about this house is that in 1887, Kansas came out with the first atlas of Kansas. And they featured this house. They have a sketch of this house and the grounds. So we have something to go by here, and that's what's on the first page there. So that is an 1887 sketch of the house, the barn, and all the stuff there.
Have you got this picture from the wall? This picture used to be
Right.
on the wall in his house.
I actually went to the state and got it out of their big book. But yeah, Welch had one.
But the picture is long gone, you're saying?
No, it's in a book. It's in books.
Well, I mean, but it's.
The real picture that he had,
Yeah.
I think Jack's probably got it.
Yeah, I have one too. I bought it. So the next deal is our agritourism certificate, proving that we are part of agritourism. And then the House bill is bill number 2254. And if you look on page 4, I highlighted it. It says registered agritourism, location of the registered agritourism operator, blah, blah, blah. And anyway, it says, for the purpose of this clause, selling any items, products, services, merchandise associated with registered agritourism to be registered by an agritourism operator. That includes, but is not limited to the point of sales made from either land, buildings, shall not be classified, shall not change the classification of agricultural land and buildings. So what agritourism means, basically, is that you are agriculture. That's what this bill states, Bill 2254.
Actually, Bill 2254 died in the Senate on April 30th of 2024.
It did? Well, the next one here is, I got this because the attorney said that there was some questions about it, and this says that the definition of the land devoted to agricultural use for property tax includes all land and buildings, whatever permanent or temporary that are utilized as part of the agritourism activity and the registered agritourism location. I talked to the guy today and I said, so does that mean that a county can if it's a state law, can a county trump that? And he said, this next letter came out 4 days ago, and they sent it to anybody on the agritourism site, because I think you have to re-register every year. And it said, renewing your agritourism registration by February 14th is important to avoid reclassification of your real estate for property tax purposes. Kansas tax appraisers rely on active agritourism registrations to maintain agricultural property classification, even when the commercial activities are conducted on site. So if you don't have it, it said, if this lapses your property tax and your property is subject to county zoning requirements, which would be, it could go back. One of the big arguments was, if you turn this into commercial, what somebody argued on the House floor, they said, my fear is that if we do this, if we charge commercial taxes or zoning for this, these small mom and pop little places can't do it. They cited a place that sold pumpkins, pumpkin patch, and their taxes went from 6,000 when they were agriculture. When they became commercial, they moved to 30,000, and they had to close. So we are having a few weddings there because people want to go and they want to be out in this. But we're taking that money and we're putting it towards like the refinishing of the barn. We're going to try to, the barn's falling apart, we're going to try to put a new roof on it, we're going to try to paint it. I'm going to try to get the scale house done. I'm going to try to do the old mansion, not for me to live in, but just for, if a wedding party comes to, that kind of stuff.
Won't the Historical Society help you do that?
We found out the hard way.
Okay.
That we could now that we're in, we could qualify for grants.
Right.
But you have to get a plan, and you have to have architectural drawings, which are $20,000 minimum. And then, when you receive grant money, you can only hire historical licensed contractors, what the Star Block building is going through right now. And so it eats up their entire grant money. But the agritourism component, they know this, so now they are providing so you don't have to go through a licensed architectural historic person. You can hire, I can hire Conklin, let's say, to do or Teal to do you don't have to have a certified, because there's a handful of them in the state.
Right, because when they did this building, it all had to be there.
Yeah.
When they put in this stupid air conditioning unit, that just about drove them crazy.
Yeah. So, one of those things, it says, it said all land. I thought, well, is a building, or it says all barns, all land, can be, if you're on the agritourism, you are ag.
Right.
To start with. So that's all I gotta say. Said a lot. I wish I wouldn't last. Sorry, buddy. So, but like I said, I can retire this year, but I can't yet. So I'm gonna go another year or two, but that's my plan. I wanna try to, nobody knows about this place. I wanna give tours. It's really important to our community. A lot of people around have been to this place, and it means a lot to them. And I wanna try to preserve it, and I wanna try to bring it back to like that picture you see.
Right.
But commercially, I don't think I can do it.
You're gonna have to get some money somewhere.
Yeah.
If you
And
don't.
that's what I think the weddings will help. We're not doing it every weekend, but venues, as you know, we have one here in town that just went up, and that'll help pay the bills a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
So what are we weighing here, Trish? What are we weighing one against the other?
Originally, he applied to be able to get his CUP so that way he could have the wedding venue. And then this morning I received a phone call where he wanted to basically tell me, that it has to be classified as ag. So,
it's like, what are we doing?
well, yeah, because up until this morning when he called, we were only dealing with, do we allow him to have the wedding venue or not?
Right.
And now I think he's trying to make the point that he should be classified as ag, but we haven't heard anything about why you want to be able to use it as a wedding venue.
Other than he said if he had the events and the money, he could put back into the property,
Yeah,
but little gray area there.
yeah. But,
You've been on the property?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Big wide driveway, right, too.
No, but
Bus is gonna be able to get in and out?
It don't have, it's got a U-drive, there's two driveways there, but
Okay.
it comes straight off that road from the south.
Fairly
Is-
wide road, township road.
Township, but it's where it's a wide road.
It's a decent size.
We've had the fire department up there. Yeah, they've been-
So it
I've
seems,
put semis in and out of there before. so
Okay, that
yeah.
answers this question. Quick.
so when you get down to the House Bill 235 that was introduced, they have a hearing tomorrow on it. And you get down to the bottom, the big part of this is, agritourism is an activity, means any activity that allows members that are entertainment for educational purposes, rural activities, not limited to farming, ranching, trail rides, historical, cultural, natural attractions. But that still goes back to his original CUP for the wedding.
The venue, the wedding venues isn't quite fitting the
No.
ag use.
It's events, it's called the Riverview Weddings and Events. So we're hosting events too there. I mean, I said wedding venue, but maybe it's just a wording thing. We're also possibly, the Kansas Stone Fence Foundation might, in 2 weeks they meet, they might do a symposium out there where they're teaching people how to do dry stack, and they're going 3 days, and they're gonna use that event center to feed the people, but they're gonna have people out there rebuilding the rock walls.
So what kind of events, what other kind of events do you foresee happening out there? Are they gonna be related to the agricultural tourism or?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I've already taken classes out there, and I could have like a Western day where I invite school districts, and then they go inside the Quonset barn, and there's men and women's restrooms, and there's a place to eat that has air conditioning and heat. I've been approached by people who want to do an artist retreat and paint around the stuff around there. So the wedding is a big money. You know what I'm saying? Weddings can bring you $3,000 to $5,000 a night. I'm more into the history of the place, but that pays the bills.
Are you asking for alcohol at this wedding event?
Am I?
Because you have to have a permit for that if you're gonna serve alcohol there.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. That's what I was thinking.
And that can be handled two different ways. Some event centers will get a liquor license themselves.
Right.
Most of the time, they want to avoid that, so they'll hire, if you want to
Right.
have a wet wedding out there, you hire a caterer, and that caterer is responsible.
Carries his own gear.
Yeah, so that can happen multiple ways. And I think we may be kind of running a parallel course here. So we're dealing with the land use through zoning, whereas a lot of what was discussed is taxation. So you moved your property from a ranch zoned as resident, or taxed as a residence, not now that it's vacant, but you improve that home, you live in it, that becomes taxed at the residential rates. We create an overlay, so we're not changing your base zoning, we're simply taking your base zoning and adding another use to it, to your bucket of allowable uses of the property. So, in most counties, when you change the use of the property to something that would have a commercial aspect to it, yes, the appraiser can then change your taxation on that, on a portion or all of that 13 acres. This House bill looked to do something good with property tax from the standpoint of like, look, if you're using this for agritourism,
Right.
and I think this can be shoehorned at least into this CUP application. But what we're looking at here from taxation is, look, if you're running an agritourism business, we're not gonna tax you. We're not gonna allow your county appraiser to tax you at a higher rate. Whether or not that falls or stands, it's still excluded from how we're handling this through zoning. A whole separate set of statutes, a whole other process. They do run parallel to one another. But from our standpoint, yeah, the CUP would still be a requirement to have any type of agritourism or event center type of use. And whether you're holding the facility for Prairie Painters of Kansas to come out there and have a retreat and paint the landscape. Or if you're, the hosting of some of these restoration projects, that's gonna fall outside of zoning. We don't care if you hire stonemasons from K-State or architects from KU that go out and do this stuff. That's just normal course of doing business. But the agritourism thing is something I think everybody is trying to promote as well. It serves counties like Osage very, very well. I think this would be certainly a benefit for a number of reasons. I've certainly sat through Wichita, Sedgwick County's Historic Preservation Board, and I can understand the pain. Living next to it creates pain for people. So Wichita's Historic Preservation Board cares about what color you paint the house if you live within 200 or 500 feet of our historic resources in Wichita. So all of that's perfectly fine. It's a layer of different things that the Crawfords are gonna be experiencing to get this thing renovated and up to bat. But what we're trying to take care of is just one of those buckets here. So,
What is your recommendation then, young man, on this? You saying we should go along with it, that's what you're saying?
I'm saying that I don't think we can solve Mr. Crawford's issue with the taxation. Whether that happens or not, that's fine.
So you can
But
have events.
with this,
right, yeah.
if we pass this, he would also be able to apply for the barn grant.
Did what?
The barn grant, it's part of the agritourism deal, so if he got a CUP for the event center, then that would qualify him to be able to apply for the barn grant, which has funds that are available on a matching basis to restore his barn.
The higher you go up in the governmental food chain, the more, there's so much, and I'm not saying it's going to apply to your project, but there's so many things that you do once you start involving state and federal money, then you get a form to fill out, making sure, and one of those things, one of those elements is if you're in compliance with local zoning regulations. And here we'd be able to check that box for the Crawfords going forward. Typically, and I know for some stupid reason this isn't a universal thing in Kansas, but by changing the zoning of a property, if I go out and zone 40 acres of my farm field to an industrial district in the hopes of catching some industry, I'm not being taxed on that until I build a factory on it. Butler County, Kansas doesn't see it that way, but you're being taxed on the use of your land. So regardless of what zoning you may have applied to your property, it's only until you start utilizing it for that new land use that you would be subject to different taxation, and whether or not the state can remedy that for operators like Mr. Crawford and his wife, that we'll wait to see what happens with that. But I think agritourism is going to be a vital resource for not only Kansas, but for nearly every Midwest state, heck, for all 50 states for that matter. But especially here where we're losing population, and there's heritage items, there's landmarks that need to be preserved. And I personally, this is my personal opinion, I'm the consultant, so they kick me out of the county whenever I get on a soapbox. But yes, I think this would be a project that the county's vision of the future would certainly want to endorse. We've approved other event centers in the county since I've been consistently here. I know the primary issue is being able to scale up water and sewer demands of that, and that's something that Keena would be working with you on. So again, this is also a project that can start as a sapling and grow. Restoration is probably the primary focus of your resources and time now, but once you get to that level, and then you look at enhancing it and then expanding this business. And I think I've not seen your property, but I certainly drive by you know, a number of highways in central
Is there rural
Kansas.
water on your property?
There is.
Good, good.
So all that would need to be sorted out.
Right.
But this would be the first step in allowing
You know, I
him to
mean,
go continue that
To me,
journey.
they gotta have water, they gotta have power, and apparently they've got both at this place.
Are you still using that lagoon right there?
There is no lagoon.
What are you doing for septic then?
I built a holding tank. I got the largest, 2,500 gallon holding tank that would be pumped. Because it's kind of a weird situation. I'm too close to the river. I only have 13 acres there,
Right.
and it's kind of on a slope, and there's just really nowhere to go.
I was gonna say that pond was right there in front of the Quonset.
Yeah. It's gone now.
Oh, it went, huh?
Well, he added a lot of work to it anyway, they ever got it going, but you wouldn't wanted it right there to let him.
No, you would, no, you would. No,
Have
if
you ever been
had a
to
lagoon, you'll find that out.
Jamestown, Virginia? Have you
I've
ever
been
toured
there.
the old, amazing. So,
So
this
for
is
the sake of-
exciting. They had
Sorry.
reverse engineered corn from the 1800s, and they had a field of the corn there
Wow.
in Jamestown, so it was pretty.
I have a guy who grew up in Reading in the 60s, and he moved away. He's been an archivist for Virginia, for the state of Virginia, and now he's the archivist for the state of Oregon, and he is obsessed with this place. He found 600 articles on this house, and it used to be the biggest place between, Topeka and Emporia, and, he found evidence of mass picnics that had 8,000 people at it, that had the governor of Kansas and Civil War generals speaking at it, and it's just it's a neat story, and I'm very fortunate to have him find all this stuff on it.
What do you got, Jason?
Well, for the sake of the CUP tonight, are we debating, is R1 agricultural? Or what's R1?
Residential.
Yeah,
Residential.
Residential.
So is that what we're debating, is
We're
what,
just debating the CUP so he can have events.
Right.
not changing the
Not
zoning,
changing
not,
anything, it's not, we
Okay.
don't do that, no.
Does this CUP need amended in any way to reflect more of what he's talking about? Or is it adequate, just event center?
once you start bridging that gray area from event center to the agritourism, is there something more that we could add? I mean, we kind of agree on this. Is there something more that needs to be added to the,
I think if we add like the tours of the house, that sort of thing, but then we have to look at parking. So where are they gonna park? Like those, we need to add those sort of things into. the
You don't have room on your 13 acres for parking for this, yeah.
I did build I have 3 parking areas, and I even got forms and poured my own parking stones.
There
I have 75 parking stones, and then I do mow along the sides of the road.
We don't want you out there, I'm sorry.
I don't wanna be out there either, but I'm just saying, I've tried to buy
You know, I
10
think
acres
we're gonna
across the
do-
road,
they're
but I can't
gonna-
do it.
They're gonna park where they wanna park anyway. There used to be a parking lot right there on across the road.
Fish and
there.
game, yeah.
It's not there anymore, is it, or is it still placed?
It's grown up in
Yeah,
trees.
yeah.
And he won't let you have it either, I suppose.
Well, a lot of it's owned by the government, US government, so.
Oh,
Fish and game, yeah.
Oh,
Falls under floodplain.
yep. This makes sense.
And I've tried, I've utilized all I could that is not historic and turned into the parking lots.
Right.
Are you gonna let them park up in the yard, more up in by the Quonset anywhere?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And I put that circle drive back in too, for parking, that original picture had.
So Jason, to answer your question, I think we don't have a definition of what agritourism is, which is, in this situation, is good.
Right.
So we are allowing it as an event center, and the interpretation of events that can be held there can be
Right.
wide.
right?
Yeah.
I'm all for it all the way around.
I don't don't see anything wrong with it, that's for
I
sure.
do too.
I would assume that, you know, I know Mac Cole had some problems with things, but, beer cans and that, but, you know, you can't. I assume that you will try to make sure if all the drinking is done in the Quonset and not carried out.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you can't control it all.
Because apparently you got a neighbor that says you have beer cans laying around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't know if it's his neighbors or the event.
Well, I wanna go see it.
What's that?
I said, now I wanna go see it.
Well, you're all invited. I'm out there about every night working. So seriously, if anybody ever wants to see it, I love giving tours. And
You need
you
to
have to make me shut up. I talk a little too much. So I apologize.
For sure, I'll be there.
Is there any
Once it
public
warms up.
comment?
Yeah.
Are you here for public comment for him?
No, he's from Carbondale.
He's what?
He's from Carbondale.
No, you're not
Okay,
on that at
okay,
all.
okay. All right, so no public comment. Anybody else got any questions for him, or?
Just had a real quick question. If you guys are not in charge of zoning, or how is that?
We are in charge.
We are in charge.
Well-
So what would be the next?
We are a recommending body, so we would make a
Then it goes before the
recommendation
county commission.
for approval or denial, or approval with conditions, and then the county commissioners would be the final approval.
Okay, do I need to file something then, or would you just recommend?
We recommend it.
Yeah, you did file, this is that, you're out,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
But I would like to see a stipulation on there that it is subject to review with parking. That's the only thing that worries me. I guess I farm and I realize that if your road's down to a certain size, I've got a 17-foot wide combine, that's with no header. I've got to get down the road at that time of the year. That's what would worry me, would be the road.
I motion to approve CUPZ 2407.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve CUPZ 2407. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. You're good to go from our standpoint.
You're done.
I'm
Okay, thank you,
excited.
folks. I appreciate it.
I will get with you and let you know before we go to the Board of Commissioners.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Trish, will our new change in meeting days begin in February?
Actually, March, because we have the CUP next month, so I will have to shift everything.
Okay.
Do you have the date of the
So, next meeting, well, March meeting will be the
25th.
March 26th is when we will switch. But we will have a meeting in February
25th.
25th.
Okay.
We need to hear from him then before we get into this comprehensive.
Did you have something
What have
tonight?
you got?
Yeah, my name is Dylan Fleming. I'm the zoning administrator in the city of Carbondale.
Oh.
I really just came here to kind of network and maybe gain some research with Tricia. We're kind of in the process of reevaluating our regulations and our processes for submitting and approving permits. We recently had Alcove Development and Drippy Homes come in and build 4 houses in our new Tucker subdivision. During this process, here's a little bit of backstory too. I've been on the board for about 4 years now, but we've been struggling to maintain a board. So now basically I'm the sole administrator that will, make it just like you guys, I'm a recommending body to the city council. Is basically how we're going to work it now. And I've learned a lot in this process, but with these new 4 homes coming up, I've learned even more about basically how lacking our regulation and our process is. We had some homeowners come in and voice some complaints about the quality of the construction of their new homes.
Do you have a wiring code or plumbing code at all up there?
It's 2006 is what gets called out in our regulations.
Pardon?
It's 2006, which gets called out in our regulations.
What's more than ours is?
Yeah, well, you will not find a contractor that will build according to 2006 building codes.
Okay.
So that was kind of the first thing that was brought to light was, you know, how do we even get this corrected so that everything can be legitimate. With the homeowners' concerns that they brought up, really the main focus kind of shifted to, we've got to get something established right now. We don't want to miss out on the opportunity to grow in Carbondale. We have an opportunity to get a lot of growth from the Walmart distribution center and people looking to live in a smaller town. So we want to get a partner that we trust that's going to deliver quality products for our citizens. So really, I just came here to kind of inform you guys that that's happening there and see what networking and resources I can do to help me understand the process of the planning and zoning administrations in this county, so I can maybe try and mirror what Osage County does in Carbondale, and then everything is nice and aligned. So I will be probably attending this meeting from here on out, just to pay attention and listen and understand and try and learn.
We've had a lot of discussion as a board about one of the things that we need in the county is an inspector. But of course, there's the cost, so part of the discussion has been if we have a county building inspector that Carbondale could use, that Overbrook could use,
All
because
the
it's,
cities could use, as well as
Yeah.
the county.
so,
Self-pay for it.
yeah, just gotta
Yeah, at this
figure that
time,
out,
I'm
but
basically I'm working with the city attorney to develop a very quick and easy approval process, so we don't have to turn any of these new homes away, but we're still making sure that it gets constructed according to the code that they actually supply in their drawings. We're not really dictating the code. They can tell us what code they're gonna build to, we just wanna make sure that it gets built to that. So right now, the process that I'm gonna be working through with the city attorney, the rest of this week basically is, you know, we only really required a final mechanical, electrical, plumbing inspection. That's not enough, to really check everything through the construction process. So, we're gonna be redoing the inspection process, and that will be, at least for the foreseeable future, until we have time to really get it done right, that will be at the cost of whoever applies for the permit. They will have a list of approved inspectors that they can choose from. I've already called some companies in Topeka. If you guys have a resource, I'd be more than happy to put them on the list.
why don't you call Topeka Area Home Builders Association,
Okay,
and Katie can give you some recommendations
okay.
and a little assistance, maybe.
I plan on doing this for a long time. I'm really interested in the zoning and planning and, you know, so I've actually kind of looked into maybe getting that education for myself, just so it would be, you know, I can settle any dispute between contractors and whatever inspector we have somebody that has the knowledge behind it, that can look out for the city's best interest and protect our citizens.
You want to tackle Mineral Springs?
I live in Mineral Springs,
Okay, so I was gonna say,
so I'm actually
that's usually what I hear quite a bit.
conditional use administrator for Carbondale, because I don't even live in the city limits, but we can't find anybody to do it, and I'm interested, so we
Yeah.
are in the process of even rewriting the ordinances for what the zoning board needs to look like.
So that's a lot of what this comprehensive plan is asking for, because we've probably spent, 2.5, 3 years, maybe longer, talking about, here's a problem. And then we start following the string
Right.
and realize, well, we don't have building codes, and zoning leaves off where then building codes takes the baton and goes to the next, before the house is turnkey, ready to be inhabited. So that was a missing gap. A lot of things that we stick or have needed to stick into our conditional use permit conditions of approval shouldn't be there, because that's really where the building code would take, we don't have to worry about making sure that, a house is on a permanent foundation. A building code takes care of those types of questions, how one anchors a structure down. We do have Kena, a valuable resource in really the primary development concern that we do have control over through our sanitation code, and that's sewerage. Everything is dominated by rural water districts. We have no control over them. They do their own thing, and that's on the applicant to navigate those waters. But again, just ensuring whatever form of building code is ultimately adopted by the county and hopefully adopted throughout the cities in the county. The building inspection element is the one missing link. So that's one of several focuses we have on the comprehensive plan. So,
Well, 10 years ago, we brought it to county commissioners, and they turned us down because they didn't want to spend the money.
yeah,
Now,
we're talking about hiring another person.
A year ago, we met with the county commissioners, and they were for it. But we don't have the same county commissioners anymore either. So we're gonna have to see what that new development brings.
Yeah.
It's definitely needed. I mean.
I think it's one of those things that I think there's, perhaps, and Colleen can yell at me from the back, I think there is fairly universal support for the idea of it.
Yes.
It's the practical,
It's
let's
the
work
money.
it into the budget.
And then it's the money.
Can we, well, if you recall a couple of years ago, find me a living, breathing building inspector.
Well,
I have
Show me a
someone
certified building
interested.
inspector that would serve the county,
I
right?
realize that. That is.
That was the
We
big
got
thing.
problem enough keeping her around. What are you
Yeah.
talking about? You know, I mean.
She needs to commit a crime in Osage County, and that would be part of her community service.
There you go.
An
Now
order
you're-
of servitude.
you really got Nick.
But no, that's kind of where we're at in the process. I think we're all kind of meshed together. What your outlook is the same
Right.
as the ones that we've talked about quite a bit. And it's one of those things that we leave tonight, and we go home, and we wake up tomorrow morning, and it's less of an issue. Until we come up with something, oftentimes we'll see a zoning action, and this is very common. People aren't aware of zoning, so they come to us with an application to rectify a violation. That happens all the time. You shouldn't hold that against people. But, and we had some in-migration from New York State with a population of people who weren't accustomed to following modern
And I'm blessed
law.
with
And by
half of those
modern,
are
I
not
mean,
taken
what,
township.
150 years worth of law. But, okay, we got a problem. How do we stop it? Well, we're limited because we can't, we're limited in our action by not having that program adopted. And
Well, even with Tina, their outhouses are what they use, period. That's it.
yep,
Well, some, when they buy an old house that has a septic, are putting their outhouse over the septic.
Over the what?
Over the septic.
Okay, that works.
my grandpa would think that's problem solved.
Hey, he was proud of himself.
My grandma wouldn't.
Not just a hole in the ground now, they're putting it right over septic. Well, that's an improvement,
It is.
folks.
Better than an open ditch, yeah.
And I don't think you're gonna find several of them don't have that luxury, though.
So overall, I mean, I just wanted to thank you guys for letting me come and talk, and
Yeah.
Tricia's been great to work with you so far. I think let's just stay in contact and let me know. I'd like to be involved at the county level as well, because that'll just help me understand the process that much better to serve.
Well, if we can get some people at the city level that want this too, will help with the county commissioners, I know that.
Here comes the train, getting ready to run your butt over.
Yeah.
When somebody steps off this board, I know who I'm calling to replace them. Somebody who cares.
That's the thing, I mean, this is
Yeah.
kind of what I'm giving my time to. I like to see things go by the book and make sure everybody can do what they want to do and it's done correctly, so that's what I'm trying to do for Carbondale, and if I can, work with that in Osage and, soak up as much knowledge as I can, I'd like to do that.
Yeah. And it sounds like we got a large group of people marching in generally the same direction, and we might as well combine efforts, so.
Especially after hearing some of the homeowners' complaints, I kind of felt bad because I felt a little bit responsible that maybe our process wasn't good enough to enforce some of the things that needed to be enforced.
Yeah.
So get that directed. Ultimately, these home buyers did also waive their right to a home inspection, so they have their part to play in it too.
Certainly.
But ultimately, I mean, the city should be looking out for its citizens, and we can't do that without a proper process in
Yeah.
place.
And even if we don't care one lick for our citizens, everybody's unified in their care for a healthy property tax base. and you can't build something that's gonna depreciate in your housing stock and without building codes to ensure that. And as we've talked about here, numerous times, the majority of our local builders, I'm sure, build quality homes, with or without a book, right? But it's not, those aren't the people we're concerned about. We're concerned about the fly-by-night people who are just sweeping in, making as much margin off of people
You
who
mean
don't
like Mr.
understand.
Whitmer did for years?
What's that?
Like Mr. Whitmer did for years? Yeah, bought a lot of little patches that were too small to even put a, she can't do anything with their septic systems because there isn't enough land.
Mhm. So we're trying to prevent the worst offenders through the program, and
And some of them you can, some of them you can't. The elephant man out here.
I still think,
letters were written.
yeah, I still think that there is, you know, your quality builders, just like anybody else, want to play on a level playing field. And so if you got home builders out there losing potential jobs because somebody's undercutting them by $20,000 on a new home build,
Something's wrong.
that's not apples to, or, you know, that's apples to oranges comparison of product. And so I can see, oftentimes the people who champion building codes, the adoption of building codes, are the actual builders. WAPA, Wichita Area Builders Association, strong proponent of building codes because it evens the playing field and they get less phone calls.
Yeah.
This development is, you know,
Well,
not even worth taking a bulldozer to.
believe the builder belongs to the Topeka.
They should.
So,
So that's ultimately, I mean.
the
builders are-
Alcove doesn't, but Drapé does.
Yeah, so both the developer and the builder are a little bit frustrated with me right now because last week, Monday, we had a meeting and I basically put a stop to their permits that they have going. And, you know, they kind of think I'm picking on them because of, you know, some of the homeowners' complaints, but really I'm trying to buy time to get a process in place so that we don't make them, so that we don't have any concerns on the next ones. You know, if the homeowner wants to voice their concerns, they should do that through the home inspection and the buying process. But as the city, we should be covered on, we have documentation that it passed all these inspections during that.
Is city money going to fund any of these through tax abatements
Grants.
or grants or anything like that?
Grants did.
Yeah.
So,
is
so the
grants tied to
city of
these.
Carbondale's a partner
Yeah.
in the development team.
Yeah, I'm not trying to
Yeah.
run anybody out.
Yeah.
I'm really, I want to make sure that what we get put up is what we're promised,
Yeah,
so.
Well, and
you and
I,
the taxpayers of Carbondale.
yeah, understand that there's some moisture issues and then that leads to all kinds of problems.
So, yeah, just so if
some
you want to know the
corners have been-
specifics of the details, they used a smart siding, and they did not use sheathing behind it.
Oh.
After looking at the code, it actually does seem to look like it kind of passes. Sheathing is not required if you use a certain structural siding directly to the studs. I also did find in a table it requires 3/8 of an inch thick. Theirs is only 3.54, so it's, you know, 20 thousandths.
And it
Too-
also
too
depends
thin.
on, as long as they're using the correct nails and the correct spacing in the right place, and
So this is the thing, I need help from an inspector, right? I need help interpreting the code. I can't enforce this myself. I don't have the accreditations to do so.
Yeah.
That would just further put the city in under liability that we don't need. You know, but that is something I'm interested in the future, and I'm probably gonna look into myself. But for now, I came here to try and get resources to help us get through this process.
Yeah.
What was your name again?
My name's Dylan Fleming,
Okay.
and that's all I have, unless anybody has any questions for me. Thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
your time.
Thanks for coming, Dylan.
Yeah, you bet. And I think with that, we're gonna be out of here. Anything else on the agenda? 75418-8059.
No, the next thing on our agenda is the comprehensive plan.
Oh, actually, yes,
You weren't really expecting us to approve this tonight, or anything.
I'll take a motion. No,
Well,
no.
no,
No.
my point was I'd like to read it before I,
That would,
Didn't quite
so
get it on
first,
time.
my apologies for for getting this to you in January. and not
Thanks a
last
lot.
fall.
We know.
So my apologies to Colleen, who missed my apology. She'll get a direct one, but
I'd like to move, we just table it tonight and then vote, bring it up next meeting.
let me just give you just a quick overview. And
Okay,
I won't go Dave Ear out on you, I promise.
Put your timer on.
So, again, read through it. This book version has a few edits. If you notice, the sheriff's department, Trish got me some information from the sheriff's department on the law enforcement center. There was an incomplete, Jan, where you're on in the back 4 or 5 pages is an implementation schedule, and it gives us all the goals and objectives or the objectives of the plan. And is this a short-term thing that we need to look at, like building codes and enforcement procedures? And mid-range and long-range goals. So feel free to color in the dots to where you see them. I gave just my best guess on those. But no, peruse the plan. We've last June, I believe, maybe it was May, but I think it was last June, we went through the chapter on goals and objectives, kind of the core of the comprehensive plan. I cleaned up some of those, but in general, they're all there. I've had interest from the governing body about what the plan says about renewable energy systems, and I told them that nothing has changed. It's verbatim from when we edited or amended the comprehensive plan in October of 2022. So take the month, obviously, to review. Feel free, if for whatever reason you can't sleep the next few nights and you get to it now, whenever you see something or have questions, either note it or send it to Tricia and she'll get it to me, and we can have answers available in February. I would ask that, or I would suggest that the Planning Commission make a motion and second to direct us or direct Tricia to notify the public hearing in February. So if we do feel comfortable next meeting to adopt or recommend adoption, we can. Don't feel bad if we have 2 or 3 planning commission meetings worth of back and forth. I think we're all generally in agreement. Wichita's planning commission's notorious for having, 9 yes people and 3 or 5 no votes. And so those things can get testy. Our planning commission is generally, I think we all kind of point in the same direction. But take time, look through it, write down your questions or comments, write down what you think is missing or lacking in that, and we can take care of it.
Improvement or whatever.
We have a public hearing. If we do schedule the public hearing, notify it, we need to notify it. We would then hold a public hearing during March 25th's Planning Commission meeting. If we feel comfortable at that point and recommending it onto the County Commission, that we can. We can schedule that at the next available County Commission meeting, and they may turn on it for a while.
Yes.
So
Well,
that's
you know,
kind of the outline of it, but I would ask if you 5 are comfortable having us set the public hearing date for our next meeting, then we can go ahead
I'll move
and do
with
that.
set our next meeting, public hearing. But we got one thing, we haven't met with the new commissioner, so I don't know where he stands on a lot of things. I knew kind of had to figure out where Bailey was going, knew where Cooter was going, knew where Les was going. I did not know this new gentleman at all, Rob Derrick. He's fortunate in that respect, because I do not know him at all.
Yeah, and and this is more for Tricia to fly up the flagpole, if Brandon wants, I have no problem answering phone calls by county commissioners on this issue. If he feels like he needs one-on-one, get up to speed, I'd be more than happy to
I
arrange
do know
that.
that we have one out west that's gonna come back with 7,000 acres worth of solar panels.
Well, I don't know if you realize, but Mr. Crawford's CUP had 100 acres of solar to power his agritourism event center.
I didn't see
You just
that.
approved that. You made the motion.
No.
No,
It wasn't there either.
Did you hear the statement that Larry Fink of BlackRock made?
Pardon?
Did you hear the statement that Larry Fink of BlackRock, who owns NextEra and all the other companies, said, going forward, the intermittency of wind and solar will not be sufficient for our
Yeah.
needs, for
Hard to
data
define
centers or
intermittency.
for our,
That was painfully obvious, what, 2 years ago when windmills froze and the solar panels froze up in Texas and suddenly,
Why not?
yeah, I was still living snot out of it.
well, Jackson County last week was the third lawsuit filed against the 5,000 acres of solar that they're trying to put in. Actually, I think it's up to
Out there, you
10,000.
mean?
Jackson County.
Oh, Jackson County, okay, yeah.
Yeah, there's
I-
3 lawsuits going on.
I'm just saying, I know that Perry's been working real hard on our new commissioner. Regrettably, Perry and I are always on the far sides of each other, regrettably. Same last name and related, but
Okay. Well, hopefully with Trump's
because that, worst is,
policies
Jan,
that,
it's kind of like Les Holman made the other night was, said this down here at the meeting. He said, it just takes 2 kind of commissioners that want that to change.
oh, I know.
And guess what? It was bad. It's not. Just big.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm hoping I get some word from him, what he's got, what his ideas are. To me, the solar, I do not understand, like that one solar chip company down there south, get how many acres that stupid thing covered. Didn't put one solar panel up, they're gonna put a coal-fired plant next to it so they can produce the electricity.
Well, that's like in Lawrence, when the coal plant was scheduled to be shut down, and they fired it back up to do Governor Kelly's little battery plant, and that plant is now exclusively
Yeah,
used
That
for
coal
that.
plant, right.
So,
and he couldn't build a new coal plant west.
I did find a typo earlier when I was reading this at home, and I tried to highlight it, and then my page went blank, and I'm like, I'm not real computer literate, so it's like, oh, okay,
Is it like at the very beginning?
yeah,
Yeah, I saw it too.
Like
I've
page-
got it highlighted.
30 or something, so,
It's like, it's the
Anyway.
city or something.
There's plenty of them. I've told everybody this,
Motion on
but,
the floor, Jim,
but
get a
most of the
second.
edits that I do in a comp plan at this stage, invariably, there have been
Get
ex
that on our agenda.
elementary school teachers on planning commission, and it's all about commas and capitalization.
Oxford Commas.
it just didn't read right,
Before
so
next month, yeah, we
But-
will do, yes.
that was just
So you
one
got a
teeny
motion?
tiny little.
I put a motion on the floor that we go ahead and get it on the agenda for next month.
I'll second it.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to get this public comment next meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Now you'll wait until 2 days before the meeting and you'll start reading it. That's probably what happened here.
And I'll call Tricia. Tricia, what does this say?
Because there's no way of waiting for the movie to come out.
Better throw it in the reading room, that's what I'd say right now. A lot of good ideas, just a lot of reading.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I should have
You hear any more about the chip factory
Cattle.
south of us?
a template
Yeah.
type stuff,
Are you guys?
but it's just a
I
letter.
drove by there the other day, it don't look like they've done anything.
Somebody told me the other day they lost
don't
the
have
guy
to.
that was building it, was,
God damn.
got in trouble, and so that's gonna die, so.
I think it's gonna die also. And they way overpaid for that land, so I'm not, what they paid for it, it's ridiculous.
I mean, it'd be a great thing for our county, I know it would help. I will still argue with you that we're gonna get an influx in our county. Because my opinion, you're gonna go to where the nice roads are, not where we got. If you pave that south end of the county, you have a chance, but. It's one thing I regret, I'm on a dirt road, not a paved road.
You know, I've said this before, but when I was on board in Dallas County, it was amazing to me, this huge streets that would go in, 6-lane roads to nothing. But within 2 years, it was full.
Yeah, but that was
Where's
a
our
growth-
traffic light? Yeah.
That was a growth area. That's what we are not.
Well, it was Dallas, I mean, yeah.
That's a growth area. I mean,
They
that's
had
not
money to
Topeka, it's
put
not
in the
here.
streets
Right,
first.
we don't have that kind of money here in Osage County.
I know.
That's our problem. It worked there, I can see that, there's no problem at all. Topeka, you take 470, what it did after they put that here, my gosh.
I think it's important that the commission know that the Coffee County CHIPS application is very much alive. And we have worked every single week, including through the holidays, to escalate that through Representative Barrett and now up to Senator Moran and Senator Marshall. And there are currently in discussion with the U.S. Department of Commerce on the application. And it's a very long and lengthy process, but that's public information. And I just think it's, Osage County is very involved with putting these pieces together because of the benefit it will have for Osage County.
We got a lot better chance now with the president you got in, because he's wanting chip factories built in the United States.
Yeah, and they have transitioned to working with the new administration.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
not to say that it will happen.
No,
but it's still.
just a better chance is what I would say.
Indeed, yeah, exactly. I just, on the comprehensive plan, I don't have the same information you folks do, so I just want to make sure that, or maybe it's there. So if I understood correctly, Russ, we're all going to read through this, we'll provide feedback to Tricia, and alongside of this,
Or myself, I don't mean to,
or however,
yeah.
alongside of this, is there kind of an action plan? Is that detailed out, or is that a next step?
it is in the back of the book.
Okay.
You'll see a matrix or a table, and it lists out all of the objectives of the plan and gives a short, medium, and long-term designation to it, and whether it's a policy action or whether it's a capital action, whether we're writing a check. We're not calling for that. You know, we talked a little bit about, you know, maybe the area, are there places to do a centralized countywide park type of location? Specifically the Osage Fishing Lake at Four Corners. That's listed as a capital project, because ultimately that's something that would have capital expenditure to develop. And we're calling, I think I called that for a medium range project. So feel free to move the dots around where it needs to be, and we can take a consensus of the timeframes of some of those. Obviously, adding or subtracting some of those objectives is something we can certainly do. I feel like all of our discussions in 2024 are in the plan. As I've mentioned, just really quickly on renewable energy, I've told a few people this, but that policy decision has been completed. We have an established policy of prohibiting those large-scale renewable energy systems in the county. My point is, we talk about it, you know, there's probably 8 sentences worth of discussion in this book about renewable energy systems. Half of it deals with what we did a couple of years ago. But obviously, as we know, the door's open. You can have 3 commissioners that prohibited it. They lose the election. We have 3 new county commissioners come in. We'll go through the exact same exercise to unwind it. So that is an obvious course of action, but I don't harp on renewable energy. For counties that either have them or are looking to have those systems, there are a few more sections in the natural features, the front part of the book, where we talk about the resources for that. We talk about, you know, we're in a category 4 or 5 on wind generation. People have mapped Kansas probably the United States for wind generation potential. So I add that section, I took that out of the section. In looking through the existing comprehensive plan, I didn't realize that it was kind of as flimsy as maybe it was. There's not a lot of hard direction or a lot of information. So hopefully this version will add some very basic information. But things like that, we're going to be waiting for you all as staff, you all as planning commissioners, and ultimately the county commission to decide what hard lines we need to take. If I need to take the gray and make it a little bit darker or eliminate that altogether, those are things over the next few months in the adoption process and the review process and ultimately the adoption process that we're looking for now. So this plan represents where I first planted the flag and where we go from there.
Okay. So we currently have on March 10th, a meeting scheduled with the Board of Commission and each department head to just give them a 5-second summary of the comp plan, and then move pretty immediately to the action plans to see if everyone is in agreement, probably assign people certain aspects, because it's all just words unless we, you know, put a budget to it and we put resources to it and we put a timeline in place. It seems like 310 is now gonna be, like we should probably shift that out to maybe April, because we have to first adopt it, or would you rather have their input before it's finalized?
When you said that, I was kind of thinking, good, that's a perfect time to
Okay.
have that meeting before adoption.
Okay,
Only insofar as that is going to be, sorry for you all, you've done your work on the comp plan over the years by hearing and bringing up and us discussing some of these issues that are now in the plan. But it gives decision makers a good time. If we come up with something, that would be the meeting that we would come up with something either from left field that nobody's talked about before. You know, somebody's gonna raise their hand and it's like, crap, I wish we would have known that in August. That's a perfect time, because then we would still have time to then edit
okay.
and the county adopt it.
And kind of get their buy-in.
To get their buy-in.
Right?
I know that I've had interest from commissioners on what is or isn't in the plan. I assured them that there's no radical policy departure from what's in the plan now or what we've talked about now. But sometimes governing body officials will look, nearly always, the governing body, whether that's a city commission, city council, or county commission, their interest in reading, you pop this on their desk, it's like, okay, what's in this book that's gonna tie my hands when we talk about the budget, when we talk about zoning cases coming before us, when we have a presentation from some state official on making an 80-20 investment deal with the state on a project. Their concern is if it's in this book, does that mean I have to go along with it? And we want to assure them that no, these are policy guidelines, that we can take it a different direction. And if there's something like I mentioned, renewable energy, that takes it a 180, and I don't want to harp on that sensitive subject, but it's a good one. If they do a 180, then we amend the book. But I'd hate to have that March 10th meeting after we've already got an adoption resolution typed up.
Okay.
I think it would be good then to have that meeting to go over the fine details of what's in the plan. Somebody can unearth something of significance, perhaps. Who knows what's going to happen over the next couple of months? Maybe something will radically change with a potential employment base or the like.
Yeah. And we know some things today that we didn't know 6 months ago.
Exactly.
That even as I read it, I'll be looking at it with a very different eye.
Mhm.
Sorry, Tricia.
Was the March 10th meeting sent out to the different departments?
It was, but now that it was originally scheduled for a Monday. we very likely will move it to the 11th for Tuesday, because that's when all the commission is gathered in the building. I'd like your counsel on, when I first talked to Chairman Holman about it, we were gonna have all three of the commissioners there, because they don't have to vote, but just to listen. Do you see a problem with that?
So
It
the
has to
split-
be published.
It has to be published. So that, the reason I wanted the planning commission to take action on setting a date is so Tricia could then mail out the newspaper notifications of legislative matters. So most of what we've done tonight is called quasi judicial. We set in judgment of Mr. Crawford's proposal, and we approved it. There's rationale that provides the legal foundation for that decision. Governing body shouldn't really have anything to do with these CUPs discussion-wise. They shouldn't prejudge it until it gets on their February 11th agenda. Comprehensive plans and zoning and subdivision regulation changes are all legislative in nature, so that doesn't matter. Sunshine law still applies, but Open Meetings Act still applies. But from our standpoint, we want governing body. If the governing body, I think I told Trish before the meeting, if we could have all three commissioners here every step of the way, that would be glorious, because then they're not gonna be surprised by what's in it. So oftentimes, we'll set between your recommendation to adopt and the final adoption, oftentimes takes 2 to 3, 4 months, because they're the last people to jump off the cliff on this, and rightly so. It's all the responsibility of the adoption falls on them, so.
Long, your motion will have, your notification will have to be that there will be no action taken at the meeting, because you got a quorum. You open meeting law, you're gonna get them in trouble with that.
These are more like a work session.
Yeah.
Right, that's what I'm saying, you could have it that way, a work session, but boy, you sure make sure that there
It'd have
is
to be
no
advertised
way
to
that
the public.
they're gonna make a decision, because that gets subject to open meeting law.
Certainly, yeah. So the public hearing is
I just
in
don't
front
want
of the
them-
planning commission with adoption by the governing body. So really, this is the focal point of the legal action of adopting it, or the official public hearing for the adoption of it.
And Tricia, to your point, I was gonna request Chairman Holman make an announcement so that all of the department heads actually attend with their busy schedules, you know. for the
Well,
work
maybe
session,
if you,
for the work
because
session.
I don't remember getting any notification on that, so maybe if it gets sent back out
Yeah,
to all the department heads.
yeah, like I said, I'll probably move it to Tuesday versus the Monday, so I can do that even tonight or tomorrow.
During a day meeting.
Yeah, I think it was just gonna follow the Board of Commission meeting.
It's
And I
1
think
o'clock.
we're just gonna bring in lunch for everyone.
I have it down as 1 o'clock.
Yeah, do you, okay, perfect.
Oh, if you move it to the 11th.
Are you available?
Yes, I'll head up north fresh from my dentist appointment.
Oh, no. We can move it.
I've bought that guy a vacation house. Probably over time.
We
see
could
what-
move it, just the following week is spring break, so I
Yeah.
couldn't move it that week, but we could move it more towards the end of the month if you think that would be better for you folks.
Either day works for me.
Okay. We probably won't catch everyone, we'll just do our best. Okay.
Okay, you'll let us know by email.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, we'll send some reminders before that as well.
Yeah. Okay.
One other question.
Sounds good.
When we originated this idea, and sorry if it's not on tonight's schedule, we had talked about doing a feasibility study out at South Shore. And we had kind of said that would follow, once we get this nailed, we'll go into that. Is that still on your scope?
Absolutely it is.
Okay,
Mhm.
all right, good. I still think that's important.
In looking up some of the utility information that's in the plan, water service and how we handle wastewater and things of that nature, I've done a good bit of research on that, These improvement districts aren't out of the question. I think they're gonna be financially infeasible, but my next step is to reach out to some engineering firms that specialize in the design of those systems, just to get a general cost estimate. But we do have a sewer improvement district that serves Sail Away, but we don't have anything for the south side, the south area between the highway and Pomona Lake, and for that matter, Vassar. So, I mean, you kind of like, okay, we'll solve this problem. We have this problem, okay, we'll solve this problem, and it's like, how far, you just keep going, right? So.
We kind of anticipated that, right? I mean, from the beginning.
I thought, the idiot in me, which comprises about 75%, assumed that somebody at some point figured out Vassar. So honestly, I mean, these things can't be scaled neighborhood to neighborhood. And sewerage systems on mechanical sewer systems and large municipal and quasi-municipal water and sewer systems is a very specialized subset of civil engineering. Our firm, for example, have no design engineers that are capable of doing that work. PEC in Wichita is about the only Wichita firm that could design Linden a new mechanical wastewater treatment plant. I believe Wilson Company is a group out of, they've got offices all over. Their Salina office has engineers specializing in rural water district systems or these quasi-public or public systems. I've worked with them on Marion County, in Marion County on a much smaller focus on a project. They're a good resource. I like those guys, and so I'm gonna reach out to them or somebody out of Topeka that would just spitball. Is this a $50 million thing? Is this a $15 million thing?
Russ, if we had any chance of putting it together, our best chance might be this year or next year with the use of the Kansas bill matching funds. That may be the only way we could ever knit this together. I was talking to them on another project. Unfortunately, the grant that they identified for me is due in March, so it won't serve us this year. But they've been amazing partners with me in helping to identify some of these grants. Sorry to keep you guys. One of the many projects we're working on.
You haven't got a letter back yet, Trish, right?
Do what?
Since I saw you the other day, you haven't got a letter back.
Okay. Next.
Anybody on the board got anything?
We got a quick question for Trish. So with the snow and the freezing and everything, what's been going on with the A1 dumping situation?
Nothing.
Didn't know if you had any updates on that at all.
They haven't done anything.
So I was thinking about that the other day. I'm like, they're trying to dump that and then till it in. That ain't been
Legally,
happening.
they can't be dumping.
No.
Huh?
Legally, they can't be dumping on the grounds frozen.
Yeah.
Well,
Right.
yeah, so I didn't know that. Okay.
They did?
Yeah.
Whether or not they are or not, you're not really sure unless you're out there every
Yeah, I
day.
mean, I mean, that's true for all land applications, but sewage, the pushing all of it, there's not.
It doesn't seem like they're following the ruals, whether or not they do or they don't, so it could be. I
Yeah,
was just
that
curious.
would be a really
Bad.
smelly situation. I wanted to say a different word, but a smelly situation. If they slid off the road with that,
That might just help our cause.
that's true.
That's all I had. I was
Are you
just,
still
Tina, got
working with
anything?
PhD on that pretty closely?
Yeah, but they can't do anything when the ground's frozen. So,
You got anything?
Allowed to start to fall out.
so I have a meeting on Thursday with a gentleman and one of our commissioners to start going over possible building codes that we would want to adopt. And this gentleman is a licensed home inspector, but we would probably need more, depending on what scope we're doing, we may need multiple part-time. Yes, if you have any specific codes or ideas on things that you want looked at, send them to me, let me know. This has all been fast-tracked.
Alex has some specific codes he wanted to see adopted, I know that.
OSB?
Yeah, no, I'm talking about other plumbing codes.
Oh. Okay.
Which Alex?
Pardon?
Alex who?
Our old board member.
Zerby.
Oh, Alex Zerby.
He's moved up to he's not down in Quinemo anymore. He's moved up to Carbondale.
Yeah, I know, he's building. He has a lot of ideas. He'd be happy to talk to you.
Send me his number.
And I had a guy that was interested in doing the inspector.
Well,
But
and that's where I need their number, because like, so we'll probably need more than one. And especially if we get, so I know Carbondale's, I've talked to Dylan and Emily, they're pretty much on board with using somebody,
He was a
Overbrook.
certified contractor, but had his general contractor's license. So
I'm gonna move with adjourn.
I'll second that, Dave.
Thank you.
It's moved and seconded to adjourn the meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Now I got a lot of